Hi guys, so I wanted to show you this is the closing speech of Jacob Rees-Mogg's sister, who is an MEP in the European Parliament. So let's hear what she had to say.
Since the 1700s, it has been argued that there should be no taxation without representation. I very much hope that this will be my final opportunity to speak in this democratic facade of a chamber.
Okay, I don't understand how Brexiteers, especially Brexit Party MEPs, can stand there and say this. But of course it's probably just for their audience, because their audience are idiots who don't understand that they are democratically elected to this position. She was elected by British people to go there. But she stands there and calls the chamber that she was democratically elected to undemocratic, or a democratic facade. This is just mind-blowing. You know, these people stand there and they say, this place is undemocratic. I was democratically elected to this undemocratic chamber. But of course, it resonates with Brexiteers because they have been fed this ridiculous lie that the European Parliament is undemocratic. But they don't seem to be able to connect the dots between the idea that something is undemocratic, but the people who are there have been democratically elected. And for an extra insult to this idiotic position, the people who are actually in the European Parliament, this MEP, this Rees-Mogg, the sister of Jacob Rees-Mogg, she was elected through proportional representation, which is more democratic than the one that Jacob Rees-Mogg was elected via. He was elected through first past the post, which is much less democratic than proportional representation. The irony of her standing there saying this place is undemocratic. But she's not stupid. She knows she's speaking to a certain audience.
I also hope that this historic principle will be respected.
What principle? The principle of democracy that you're saying is non-democratic?
The United Kingdom leaves this technocracy in the near future, it is entirely unreasonable to expect British taxpayers to continue to fund initiatives over which they have no say.
Which is quite funny, because at the moment you have a say. Well, until you leave, you have a say. Now, when you leave, you won't have a say because you will no longer be a member. You are going to create a new relationship with the European Union, and you won't have a say. But you have decided to have that situation. You have decided to put yourself into a category of state where you will not have a say. So you can't complain that, well, we want to have access to the European Union markets. We want to have access to funding. We want to have access to a certain level of relationship with the European Union, but we don't want to pay for it. Well, the European Union said, well, if you want to have access, you'll have to pay for it. But at least now, when you're a member, you're paying for it, but you have some level of control. You have some say in the decision making. After you leave, you won't have it. So what the hell is she talking about?
In 1990, a former British Prime Minister said to the Commission President, Monsieur Delors, no, no, no. She was right then on further integration, and I say the same on budget contributions after we leave.
But you won't be contributing unless you want a relationship. But just because Margaret Thatcher said no, 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 and it sounded cool, it doesn't make any difference. I'm sorry, lady, it doesn't make any difference. The facts are, don't follow your mindset. You're telling we don't want to pay any more contributions to the European Union. fine, then you won't have access to the markets. You can't expect to have the same level of access and not pay into it. Why would, let's just take a step back here. Why would someone be a member if they had the same privileges as a non-member? Or I should reverse that. Why would somebody be a member of, for example, the European Union when someone else outside the European Union has the same access and the same privileges? They would say, what's the point? Why am I paying into a system if somebody outside has the same level of privileges and they don't pay in? This is what's mind-blowing for me with the Brexiteers. They want to have the same level of access, the same privileges as being a member, but not be a member. Try and use that analogy with any, for example, club or association. Go to your local football club, go to your local tennis club and say, I want to have the same privileges as a member, but I don't want to pay. And I don't want to have a membership card or anything like that. But I want to have the same privileges. See how quickly they'll laugh in your face.
The oft ignored voters of the nation states that make up the European Union and those that leave cannot and should not be plundered. The electors of the East Midlands asked for respect. I demand it. Democracy must be respected.
So how can democracy be respected if you're saying that the European Parliament is anti-democratic? This doesn't make any sense. But of course, she's speaking to people who don't use a brain, who don't understand what democracy is. They don't understand that she was democratically elected to that position. She's speaking to idiots, and the idiots are probably standing watching this or listening to this and cheering. Yeah, she's fighting for us. Yes. But just sit down for a moment and say, well, how did she get there? She was elected. Okay. Yeah, and what does that mean? It means that she was democratically elected to that position to represent us, the East Midlands or wherever she's from. And is that not democracy? No, because she said the European Union is anti-democratic and the European Parliament is a facade. So she says it, then it must be true, even though her being there is a complete and utter contradiction.
Thank you very much. And I would like all of you to respect the speaking time as well.
I love how the chairperson of the European Parliament just sits there with complete indifference. It's like, okay, the child has had their rant. Just let them have their rant, and then we'll continue with the normal business. If you look at the Parliament building, it's empty. There's nobody listening to this apart from some people on YouTube maybe. But even that aside, I love how the chairperson of the chairwoman here just says, let the Brexiteers have their rant. It's like a child who's having a tantrum. They say, I don't have children, but they say if your child is having a tantrum, you should let the tantrum run its course, let the child tire themselves out, and then they'll just give up and sit down. And I think the European Parliament is doing the same thing with the Brexiteers. Just let Nigel, consume his energy. Let him rant. Let him rave. He'll eventually get tired and sit down, and then the next Brexiteer will do exactly the same thing. So this is democracy in action, guys. This is once again the irony of Brexiteers criticizing the European Union. The double irony of them criticizing the European Union for being undemocratic, even though they are there. And the second thing, they were elected through proportional representation, which is much more democratic than first past the post. But once again, this is not for people with a brain. This speech was not for people with a brain. This was a speech for Brexiteers. I'm sorry. who are lapping this up her and saying, yes, look at her, fighting against the man, against the system. Let me know in the comments, guys, as usual. I appreciate the comments. Thanks.